Hey, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co.
I'm Mason, just Mason.
Just Mason. And today we're having a conversation around big boxes. Oh, Mason is a friend, in case you're wondering, yes. But effectively, today we're having a conversation around big boxes. This is something I touched upon a few weeks ago in a vlog I was doing, where I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be having a conversation around big boxes, because Mason and I talked about doing this a year and a half ago by now?
About a year ago.
It's like a while. It's been a while. We had a conversation, he suggested it, he was like, hey, how do you feel about big boxes? And then we decided to have a whole video about it. A year and a half has gone by, and here we are. And there's more big boxes since the last time. At least for me there is.
The table might fall apart.
The table genuinely, right now the table is pushing its max capacity. But here's the deal. We don't have a full flow or frame as far as what we actually plan on talking about, but the overarching goal of this conversation is to talk about the benefits and downsides of big boxes, using some practical examples that we've had in terms of things that have worked for us and haven't worked for us and why. So as far as the way this goes, we'll figure it out, but I guess I'll start with, how do you feel about big boxes?
Are they good? The answer is, it depends. So I think that there's a lot of factors that go into it. One is, does it increase or decrease setup? Does it make it so that you're going to actually play it more? How much space does it take compared to like a hodgepodge storing everything in the same base box? Mm-hmm. How much space does it take compared to all of the expansion boxes sitting on top of each other? And another factor is, if it's huge, are you the one that hosts game night most of the time? Because if you're not...
Speaking of which, I believe I'm showing 7 big boxes today. Mason's showing 4, and the reason for that is because he had to cart his big boxes here. Yeah. If it was a reverse, I'd have 4. I actually wouldn't have one of mine as well. That's a different story.
So, what about you?
So, I mean, very similarly, I think the biggest things for me are going to be... the big question for them is, why do they exist? What's the purpose that they serve? And the ideal purpose to an extent is to make things easier.
Convenience.
How easier is defined is the complicated part. Is easier defined as setup and tear down and making it more accessible and easier to dive into. Is easier defined as storing it on the shelf. Is easier defined, or maybe just look nicer. They often look nicer. That's a big thing in general. And I think that for me, I often look at ultimately storage space. Like, how much do you increase storage space? Because... at least for me, I find a lot of times when companies are putting out boxes to accommodate multiple stuff, they almost always require more space than I would if I were doing it.
Yes.
And the reason is they're trying to be accommodating to everyone. They're like, oh, the miniatures have to go here and these have to go there. And I'm like, it's just plastic bags. Toss them in plastic bags, toss them in the box. I got the base game and 17 expansions all stored in the base game and you have no idea. Which means when they are bigger, because they are inevitably bigger than my options for storing them myself, usually it's because they have some degree of inserts or storage solutions, and I, as a consumer, am deciding, do those add value enough that I'm willing to accept the larger size? It is a nicer size, but it's a larger size.
I think a perfect example is you have the Great Wall.
Yes.
And I saw the way that you used to store it. It scares me because the minis are just...
the minis are all jumbled together.
And if there was some giant box for that, surely that wouldn't be the case, but it would surely be way more space than you currently have for the Great Wall.
Which is an interesting conversation, because I noticed I have 7 big boxes I'm going to be going through today, and not a single one of them is a miniatures game. Because my miniatures games are all stored in... I don't do big boxes. They're just in their hodgepodge plastic bags. These are often more other games that have... they might have some miniature accessories. They might have lots of cards and other things. Sometimes they have nice inserts that are worth it. Other times they have no inserts, and... well, we'll get into it. We'll get into all of these things. But yeah, I mean, for me, a big part of it is what value it adds. So just an example of a game that's not here is Istanbul has a big box solution. Oh. I have Istanbul in both expansions. They fit just fine into the small box with a regular folded space insert. So it even has an insert, not even just plastic bags, and both expansions fit into the base game box. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I want the big box because it's a big box. Instinctively, there's a desire for everything. But realistically speaking, it's not adding value. It's just a bigger box to store the things that are being stored just fine in the smaller box, and that's not helping anyone.
So for Spirit Island, I have a 3D printed insert that contains everything except for Nature Incarnate in just the base box. And I think 2 expansions ago, they released a giant Spirit Island crate, which is really cool, stores everything more conveniently.
I heard bad things about it.
It's huge. Yeah. And you could fit everything in the base box.
Yeah, I heard bad things about that one.
Probably not sleeved.
I mean, I have 2. I have. They're kind of my Spirit Island is a different conversation. Right. But anyways, I guess with that, let's go ahead and start with one of these, and we'll talk about things as we go as to why these things do add and don't add value. But I'd say that before we get into that, if you're looking for like a takeaway from this video, other than just throwing something on the background and being distracted by board game conversation, which honestly is half my YouTube content, but if you're looking for a takeaway from this video, I think the main takeaway I'd focus on is not all big boxes are worth it. Not all big boxes are adding value. I have big boxes that I'm still on the fence as to whether it's good or not that I have them, and I have two particular big boxes that I'm still not sure what I want to do with them. But I mean, I have thoughts, I have opinions. We'll get into all of that stuff. But effectively, a big part of this is which ones do we like, which ones do we not like, why do we like those, why do they add value, why do they not add value, and just think about those things for yourself as to whether those viewpoints or thoughts and opinions resonate with you when you're looking at that next expansion that offers a big box all in and you're deciding whether it is something you want or not.
It's so tempting always to get the big box.
It's always something. Every single time I want it. Every single time. Even right now, there's a game that I don't even have that I kind of want because you have the big box on the table. Yeah. And I just want that shiny big box. Yeah. But I'll go ahead and start off with one that is a fairly recent one for me, which is Kingdom Builder Empire Edition from Queen Games.
Haven't played this one yet.
Oh, it's fun.
We'll get there.
It's fun. It's a good game. Kingdom Builder is a great game. It's been around for a long time. They had the original small box and they had a variety of expansions. I used to, for a long time, be able to store most of the expansions into the base game box, which is significantly smaller than this. Over time, eventually got to a point where I couldn't, and eventually I actually got rid of the game to get Winter Kingdom. Then I found that I like Kingdom Builder not necessarily more, but I thought it was easier to table. Right. Winter Kingdom's a little better, but harder to table. And they put this on Kickstarter, and I was like, big box and tempting and upgraded components and bigger stuff, and so I went ahead and got it.
And the expansions for the base game don't work for Winter Edition, do they?
They do not. That's the problem. I want the Winter Edition to be expanded to a degree, but I don't think it's been as popular. Yeah. I think it's harder to table, but it's a better game.
Yeah.
But this over here is, well, let's go ahead and show you some of the stuff over here. And this is a very low-fi as far as the things that are in this box. So we have, basically the top layer over here as far as all these components and tiles on top. Nothing particularly crazy. Then we have the little box, little piece behind you, if you don't mind. Then we have this over here as far as the inner box that stores all these things, and this pops straight out over here. So we have all that popping out, and then you have your tiles all laid in there. As far as inserts go, very, very lo-fi, nothing particularly crazy, which is actually, for me, to a large extent, a good thing. If you follow the stuff we talked about as far as what I do my own, it's mostly just big bags and toss it in there. Too much stuff that's fancy can get in the way of actually tabling it, and this is very lo-fi, very easy to table. I like this one. It does what I need to do. It stores all the expansions. It gives you upgraded components, which half the charm of big boxes is like the, hey, look at all these extra fun things you're getting. Some of the charm, some of the fun. And this ultimately has not restricted. It fits nicely on a shelf. It fits nicely in a Calyx Cubby. It slides in. Calyx Cubbies are fun in the sense that they are 15 inches deep, I believe. I think it's 13 by 13 and 15 inches deep.
But then you always have extra
Board
space.
gamers know this stuff. Yeah, but then you have extra space because of the wall behind it. So very often, depending on how your wall is and how close your Calyx is, and my collection over here has different wall depths behind it depending on whether it's a fireplace or a floor grommet, whatever it's called. Not grommet, what's it called? The molding.
Yeah.
Molding. So you have the floor molding, but ultimately there's always space behind it, which means this fits nicely into a Calyx Cubby despite being larger than 15.
But let me ask a question. With any Donald game, because I'm going to obviously compare this to Dominion, is this all the expansions that's going to come out, or are there potentially going to be more expansions, and will those expansions fit in here? Because another part of the conversation is, does it hold everything right now, and will it hold everything in the future?
That is a good point. We should talk about that. So in this case, I don't know the answer. I believe the more tricky than that is the content in here is largified, it's supersized,
right?
Which means even if it did fit, it wouldn't match up,
right?
So you need them to literally make content for this. Now, Queen Games, for better or for worse, puts out a million versions of each of their games. I don't know what they plan on doing if they ever do more content for Kingdom Builder. I'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. I will say, as a Empire Edition backer, if they don't at least make it available in some way, shape, or form to get the new stuff, I will be not thrilled. But ultimately, so the future content, I don't know how it's going to work. I think if they do make it, there's room for maybe an expansion in here.
Yeah.
Maybe one. Maybe two if you're really pushing it. There is some room. And if you take out that inner box entirely and you replace it with bags, that buys you the little edge spaces.
But then you're using bags.
I don't mind bags. I like bags.
I mind bags.
Oh, it depends on the game. I think... I think at this one I don't mind bags.
If I'm paying extra money for a box or an insert, I don't want to use bags.
I think bags sometimes are better. Sometimes. Okay. Sometimes they're worse. Depends on the game.
Yeah, I'm not going to fight you on that.
But ultimately, this one to me, it fits on the shelf. It decreases setup time. It does not get in the way of playing the game. I've played the game with this. I have not felt that sense of burden of, oh, do I want to pull it out? It is a little larger for travel size, so the original game expansion and stuff like that, I was able to fit into most of the Kingdom Builder box with a drop of extras, and this definitely makes it harder to carry to your friend's house, but still manageable. Ultimately, for me, I consider this one a win.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can grab one.
Want to attack one?
Yeah.
You can do one, I'll do two, so I can catch up and get ahead of you.
Well, I'll start one, and then maybe, somewhere in between you'll do two. So... this is one that I would say is an example of a very good big box. So Frank West, the designer of this, the first thing I want to mention is he is very proud of the localization he did for all the lids, because normally you just change the font to a different language. He had to, figure out designs for the polyomino title. So the first cool thing about this big box is it actually uses the lid for the normal game. So if you want to know how big the normal game is, it is exactly the size of this lid. So this adds maybe 60% more volume, I think.
Yeah.
For this box. So that's the first thing is it doesn't add too
40%,
much.
40%.
40?
Meaning this is bigger. This is the normal
Yeah,
lid.
this is the normal box.
And then this is the part that's extra.
Yeah. So it's like 40 to 60%
So it adds,
extra.
meaning 60% is the original, 40% is more.
Sure. Or, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I was thinking 60% of the original.
Yeah.
Tomato, tomato.
Tomato.
The point is, it's not a whole lot bigger, and you can use your own language lid, which I think is very cool. Frank West does a great job with his Kickstarters. So, throw this in the middle. This comes with a wooden insert, which is fantastic because I like things to be very organized.
Yeah.
Oop, centered, there we go. And it is packed to the brim, which I appreciate because I don't love a whole lot of wasted space. There's a lot of extras.
It goes back to your point about future expansion content.
Yes,
Wasted
exactly.
space is also future-proofing. Either way, darned if you do, darned if you don't.
Yes, and they do have room for sleeved cards, so I have all my sleeved cards here, and I don't have the thickest ones here. I don't remember how many of these are, but they aren't dragon sleeves. And so I have tons of extra space here that I could use for more cards, which is excellent. Everything is very well organized. They have all the cards split up by lesson modules, which is the reason that this isn't your favorite.
One of the reasons I've never loved games that I've never loved any game that forces you to unshuffle or reshuffle sets of cards to be able to get that variety. And there are games that I love that have that. I mean, but it's always been like, it just feels like more something. I don't know. It's tricky because there are some games that have a lot of setup time, and I'm like, oh, it is what it is, and that might not even be the most, but for me, I find it irritating.
Completely understand. But everything is really well organized, which I find.
Yes, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. It was nice. Some people complained that this was hard to put together, which, I mean, I get it.
I've done these inserts. They are.
Everything is very well put together. There's not a whole lot of wasted space in here, which I think is really useful. Frank West has said that he's pretty much done with Isle of Cats. He put out some promos recently, but in general, this fits everything and is going to continue to fit everything. So I think this is a fantastic use of space and a fantastic example of a big box that is harder to carry to a friend's house, but you can still throw this into a board game bag.
Yeah. I mean, it seems not. In fact, one of the things I actually had as a note is when I was looking at the things that I'm very confident of how they are versus the things I'm not, I noticed particular box sizes, once you hit a certain threshold, they start to get a little more in that questionable territory.
I have an example of that.
Yeah, but I'll go ahead with actually two more in the smaller box size range that are completely fine. It's going to get worse as we go on, I think is the messaging here.
I think so.
But we have Valeria Card Kingdoms. A delightful game over here, although I've never loved the fact, like, one of the things they did, speaking of languages, on the big box, they kind of made it so that each side has a different language on it.
Okay.
So, on the one hand, no matter which box you have, you could face it to the side with your preferred language. On the other hand, no matter which box you have, you're constantly reminded that, wait a second, is this the right language edition or not? So, I didn't love that, but I understand those concerns. But this, again, very manageable size as far as the box size goes on this one. And you can store everything in here. I don't know, it is future-proofed, so there's plenty of extra room as far as giving you what you need for extra, and with all sleeved cards and everything. So here's our top, which as you can see is nearly empty. I assume they'll have more content for the game. If they don't, it's fine. But and also the thing is, even though it's nearly empty, it's still necessary to have some degree of extra space. I will say if they never make more content for this game, it does feel like a waste.
Awkward, yeah.
If you are trying to be really interesting or clever, oh, I should do that. Oh, I should do that.
What should you do? I'm confused.
Well, I was going to say, the Valeria universe has a lot of games.
Okay.
And you could store other Valeria universe games in here. But the tricky part there is so
but then will you remember where you put them?
It depends on how many you store.
Right.
But I think for me what's interesting is I have a game called Claim, which for a long time I've said it's a trick-taking game. It's in this giant, unnecessary box that I wish I could show you how bad it is, but I've gotten rid of it already.
Splendor problem.
Giant, unnecessary box. But I'm saying the big box version of it. It's a tiny little box like this, and then they made the big box version with all the expansions, and it is ridiculously large. It's Kingdom Builder size without Kingdom Builder content. And so for me, that box, I always said I couldn't justify keeping that box for that game on the shelf. And I reboxed it into some other, I literally just taped the cover of the old box onto it. It's all fine, it's all good. And I'm thinking I should probably put it in here now.
Why not?
Because I should. I think this would work great. And again, obviously it'll become a problem if more Valeria Card Team content comes out later.
Yeah.
But we'll deal with that.
You can always put a sticky note on here reminding you that you put it in here.
One of the things I love over here, I love these over here. These little folds, just pull it straight out. And then we have all our content down here. So again,
really nice. Easy
to table. It fits these cards. It's a very modular to a degree as far as how it operates. And again, this to me increases table space. It makes it more accessible. It increases shelf space a little. Fits into a Calyx. A little bit of wasted space. So you want to be mindful of that. So if you are getting this, like I had all my original Valeria content in the base game box for a while, and then it did outgrow it as they had more expansions. So I did need something better. This is the next step better. But now I'm kind of happy because I think I'm going to put I think
That's a good
I'm
solution.
put claim into this for right now.
But yeah, if you
any
didn't have a room surrounded full of shelves, then this might be a little more annoying if you
Yeah.
have all that empty space.
Oh, and for context, by the way, Claim was put out by Daily Magic Games for a while, and it's the same art.
That's the relation.
That's part of why. Yeah, it's not a
wasn't
random
quite
game.
picking
Not
it
a
up.
random game. It's the same art. It's a two-player trick-taking game. I could totally see myself putting into this and benefiting from it better than the way I'm currently doing it. So that's gonna be one of mine. And again, slightly smaller boxes as far as how this goes. And then we have another one in the more, again, reasonable sized box range over here, which is Terraforming Mars. And again, these are also for reasonable sized boxes. They're a 12 by 12 profile. The Empire Kingdom build is a little bigger, but the next four or three you saw in a row are all going to be these reasonably sized boxes. This is incredibly, like one of my favorites. It's easy to table. It gives you deluxe content. The space is all utilized. They barely have more space. They do have a drop more space because I actually have more content coming for the game that supposedly fits in here. Supposedly, we'll find out.
Yeah.
But this over here, it makes everything easy to actually table and get, running without being, let me leave that in there. So these go in here. This comes out over here like so. So you have these 2 layers of trays. You have the first tray over there. You have, these going to be your upgraded components, which again, you do need the space. This wouldn't fit into the original. You have more of these over here. And then you kind of have everything else over here. You have your cards, your various token trays for the various tokens, or these metal cubes that I have over here. All these down over here. So again, everything is stored very nicely, very accommodating, very optimally placed with some degree of room for extras, supposedly. Again, like, it's one of those things, even when they have the new expansion, they're like, it fits, we checked, and people are like, okay, I hope so, which shows it's not overly wasted space. And again, it gives you a deluxe experience, one that does not impact table and setup time. I'm realizing I should have included Awakened Realms Cast of Burgundy in this video. I didn't. But honestly, same kind of conversation. A slightly bigger
the one
box.
that doesn't fit the acrylic hex tiles.
Oh, they do.
It does.
You have to be
I've
creative.
made it work.
You have to be creative.
But it's a struggle.
It is a struggle, and you have to be creative, but it does fit those tiles.
I actually haven't played Terraforming Mars to lose some gaming credit.
You have not played Terraforming Mars?
Not yet.
I don't think you lose gaming credit. I haven't played TI4.
Ask
Or
in the
Ring.
comments, do I lose gaming cred for not having played?
I think the tricky part is if you pick any particular gamer, almost any particular gamer,
TI4 is another good
and you
example.
pick, you can find, for any gamer that you can find games that are the game that everyone knows and loves, and someone's going to have their blind spot. So the only person who can't is the person who's played absolutely everything in all the top popular games, which I just think is... I haven't played TI4, I haven't played War of the Ring, I don't even know. I mean, in the top 100, I've played most of them, but either way. Anyways, to you.
I'll grab one too.
Moving on to
Summit, the big box. So, Summit, by Inside Up Games, Connor McGoey. This is mostly a good big box.
Okay.
But I do have problems with it. And that problem is basically that I don't know that it needed to be quite as big as it is. So,
That's a big problem I have with big boxes.
Exactly. It's very big, it's very well organized, I'm very type A, so that's a fantastic thing. But, I'll give you an example of what I mean. So, like I said, it's very well organized, which I like a lot. It has a board.
This does look organized.
It's very nice. It has space for the mat. We love that. Not everybody does that.
I love playmats when they fit in the box, hate them otherwise.
Exactly.
Well, want to love them otherwise, but don't.
Yes. So it's really nice that that fits in there. That came with the big box. The big box came with a lot of upgrades, some of which I don't use. One of them is these fantastic metal dice here.
Beautiful.
You should.
Oh wow, these are.
Don't drop them on the
Nice.
table.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are glorious. It came with some standees that it's more difficult to tell who you are. So
I'm
I don't
assuming
use
there's
them.
wasted space underneath these because this looks great on top.
Yeah. Yes, we're getting there. Yes. This is perfect, and I am going to actually take all these out. So this is perfect.
Okay.
This is nice, although it comes with some like minis for the tokens, and they're not as clear as the tokens, so I'm just going to keep using the tokens.
Yeah, I hate when the deluxe components are not as good.
Yeah, the acrylic standees are gorgeous, and I don't use them because you can't easily tell which color you are. It comes with another stuff for all the expansion content. Again, very nice. And then we get to the cards. I don't know if this game is done yet. I think they might have said Sanity is the last expansion, but man, did they leave room for expansions.
I caught a glimpse of that as you lifted that.
So, this
That
isn't
is a
sleeved.
waste.
This isn't sleeved, in all fairness, and maybe this wouldn't be as awful if it was sleeved.
You could put 100 micron cards on there, and this would be as awful.
Exactly, and
Sleeves, 100 micron sleeves.
the spaces are, for the most part, all the same size, where some of these have literally 2 cards in them. And so,
And the upside of that, to give them credit, the upside of that is you don't have to sit there trying to hunt which one's right. You just put them there and don't worry about it.
Oh my gosh, and let me put this on the overhead camera. Let me see if I'm doing this the right
Oh,
side up.
never mind. They actually gave you the tools for that, doing it right.
Wait, is this the right side?
Yeah.
Yes. So they actually label where every single card section goes. But again, some of these sections only have 2 cards. And this does leave it open for future expansions, which is fantastic. But in the meantime, holy crap, that's a lot of wasted space.
That is a lot.
And so I would have liked it if this took up maybe 2/3 of this space. One of these trays went down there. And, you know, again, Connor McGoey, I'm sure, put in a lot of time and effort to this. And they might have figured out that this is genuinely the best way to do it. But just coming in with this space, this takes up more space on my shelf than I would like it to.
Yeah, does it fit into a calyx? Because it doesn't look like it does.
I don't actually have a calyx. I have...
now
I'm losing gamer cred.
Everyone's going to miss out on one of the top 100, but like a calyx.
I have a Billy bookcase.
That's the other IKEA model, right?
Yeah, and it fits more into it technically, but it's not a calyx.
This, for the record, is how you know you're a gamer, when you know the dimensions of a calyx, you know how to imagine it around the moldings, you know that a Billy bookcase is the other IKEA model.
Right.
The things we know.
And I have 2 of them, and it just fits better into the space that I have. Eventually, if I have a basement, maybe I'll upgrade.
I like calyxes.
Fantastic box. Oops. Also,
does it not?
It's almost a square. It's not a square, so you
I
have to make
hate
sure you do
almost
the right
square boxes.
Wait. No, I was right the first time.
I don't mind rectangles. I don't mind squares. I hate almost squares.
Yeah. So they did a fantastic job with this box, but man, I wish it was just a little bit smaller for what it is.
You can put it on Terraforming Mars. Safe.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. All right. To me, I'm going to go to my next one over here, which is going to be... I guess this one is a bit of an... Oh, which order did I do this in?
So big.
I'm trying to think which order I want to do this in. I'll do this one first.
Okay.
Because this one I've had for long enough, and it's fully organized, so I can be more fair to it. I think I'll do...
I haven't seen it in person.
I'll do 2 on these. I'll do again 2, because they're similar. This is the Everdell Complete Collection. My solution to the fact that this exists is the fact that I now have Everdell Farshore. That's my solution.
So your solution is to not play this.
Correct.
Oh boy.
You heard it correctly. My solution is I now have Everdell Farshore, which is a easy game to table, and basically is what you get out of base Everdell, and in a small, reasonable sized box, and it gives me a slightly Everdell adjacent experience, and I play that a whole bunch since getting that. I have played this 0 times since getting this.
That's kind of damning.
I want to play it. I have played it 0 times since playing this. Now, again, caveats and all that. I play a lot of games. Not all games get cycled. There are some, like, we talked about this before the video, Coimbra, one of my favorite games, is a game I haven't played in 4 years, and it's in my, or 3 years, in my normal size box. So, like, not all games do get played all the time. But I love Everdell, and I do believe this would have been played, except the problem is because Everdell Farshore exists. Right now, when I have the inkling to play Everdell and don't want to deal with this box, I play Farshore. So they kind of gave me a giant amazing box and then gave me something else that is tempting when I don't want to deal with this. Now, I do plan on playing Everdell. And this isn't wasted space. It's not wasted space. That's the hard part. I'm going to show you. It's not wasted space. Because that's the tricky part with all these games. Like, are you wasting space or not? Because when you are, you shouldn't exist. The thing I don't know how to deal with this is I want everything that's in this box, and I genuinely don't believe there's a lot of wasted space. So let's go ahead and show you all this all works. Over here, we have... Arguably the most wasted space is from this container over here, but it stores all those monuments very nicely. So you can see them over here. They all slot in. They have specific spots as how they operate there. It works great. This over here can come out. It's a box in a box, which is an interesting conversation as to why that needed to be the case. Then over here, we have this is going to give you every single last critter. If you played Everdell?
I have played Everdell, but only the base game.
So this is going to give you every last critter you can get your hands on in there.
Gosh.
Okay. So you have the tree stored very nicely. This tree is beautiful, beautiful storage system for the tree. Yeah. No wasted space there. Every single critter. This is barely wasted space, if anything. This clips in beautifully. Everything's going great so far.
Was this wooden tree an add-on, or did that come with one of the...
The wooden tree was with the original collector's edition, and they continued to release it. So wooden tree, yeah.
This is glorious.
It's absolutely glorious. I love it.
Glorious, but it's glorious.
Yeah. Over here we have our next tier down. We have our rule books underneath there, and then we have all of these. These are going to be your various deluxe components for the various expansions. And again, this pulls out nicely, although I don't think it needs to. I think this is the bottom level. Yeah, this is the bottom level over here. Just go ahead and put that back here, which means now you can pull this out. They gave you nice ways to pull out multiple things, so you can pull out things at a time.
Yeah.
Then we have over here all of the cards down over here. And again, not much wasted space. I haven't even sleeved half of these. No, I have sleeved them. They're good. Some of them are sleeved. Some are not yet sleeved. And then over here, you have your various sideboards all underneath here. And this is basically everything you have. That's all you got. You got your boards. You have your this. This is just literally what it takes if you want to have all the deluxe components. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for every single meeple and critter. And would those fit in a smaller space if you just toss them into plastic bags you don't like? No. Yes, and well, in plastic bags.
I mean, yes.
Plastic bags.
But again, why would you use plastic bags?
If you want that degree of, oh, these go over here. If you want that degree, and they even have, like, you see this little groove here?
Yeah, that's really nice.
That's a really nice degree of thought that goes into that.
Do game nerds touch the, or
game trays. I don't actually know.
Do they touch this?
I don't
know
guess
if it is. If they did, it would be covered.
Usually they do, but I don't think this is game trays.
This is fantastic.
They did a great job with this. I have no complaints whatsoever. There's just a lot of content, and I just need to mentally... I need to mentally pull this out and just play the base game and call it a day.
Oh, would you ever bring this to a friend's house?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It's not too large to get to that point yet. There's only one game here that I would not bring to a friend's house. The
I
others,
think I know which one.
the others are, you might be more resistance to it, but I
Sure.
would bring you to a friend's house if I needed to.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
And we don't want to go too much into this. This could
Sure.
be its whole conversation. But when it comes to expansions,
Yeah.
there's some games that you feel like it fixes problems and it makes the games more interesting versus just more variety. Is this one of those that it's fixes problems, they're more important, or is it just more variety in how to play it?
I'll let you know when I play them.
Fair.
I have an interesting relationship with Everdell. I have played some of the newer expansions because I played them during the prototype phase.
Okay.
But I never played the original 3 expansions. Pearl Crest, Pearl Crest? There's Belfair?
Again, I only played the base game.
Oh my gosh, it's Belfair.
Sorry.
It's something Spire Crest, Pearl Brook, Spire Crest, Belfair.
Right.
Or Belfair. One of those. Anyways, yeah, those 3 I have not played. I played parts of the new expansions during the prototype phase, so I have experienced some of the content. I find the base game, I love the base game. I do think it benefits from having played the prototypes of the new expansions. I think it benefits from variety and content.
Right.
So I do think it is that helpful.
Would you ever play this with all the expansions, or is it not that type of
I'm
game?
open to it. Supposedly you're not supposed to. But
sounds
I'm
like
open to
chaos.
it. But again, you have to remember me. I don't like modular things where I have to mix together cars and
Right.
stuff. And so for me, instinctively, my goal is to add expansions one at a time. And then if it feels like too much, maybe I pull one back and try
Okay.
it. Terraforming Mars, I don't play with most of the expansions. I don't actually like the expansions of Terraforming Mars. I think
Except
that they...
Prelude.
Well, except
that's
Prelude. Prelude is gold. And Prelude you have
That's
to.
required.
But the other expansions, I find they add to the complexity, the rules teach, the game time, and they don't make the game better.
Okay.
So when I want variety, I occasionally mix them in. Hey,
Yeah.
let's go out and have some colonies in Terraforming Mars today. Or let's go out and throw Turmoil, which is a lot of fun. It just makes the game like 45 minutes longer on an already long game.
Yeah.
Now, our second one we have over here is going to be Vindication. I'm not going to go into Vindication here. I'm going to do this over here.
Yeah, okay.
There's only so much space we have on the floor.
Right.
But over here we have Vindication, which is going to be a similar conversation to Everdell. I love Vindication. It was my #1 game of all time this past year. I love this game. I'm not going to be able to heavily go into this one. This is not as... I don't remember it as well as far as how this operates. Let's go ahead and show you this. In fact, I think I have to take it off first before I hit the camera. But over here, we have all the content for Vindication. And again, I don't want to go deep down levels here because I think I will forget on this one. But this is basically everything you need for all... I don't even know how far I'm going to go. Let's see. We got this over here. We got this over here.
Speaking of modular
we got this over
expansions.
here. And then we have the various card packs on the side over here. So we got all this going down here. And then the various card boxes. There's some extra room to play around with, which I believe they have more Vindication content coming. It's not the worst as far as the big box. I do like how Everdell went wide instead of deep. I found that gives it a degree of accessibility that going deep is a little trickier. But ultimately, where I am with this one... Oh, I forgot even the way I put this out. You see, this is the problem. This one I haven't done as much work with yet. I still need to organize it a bit more and see where it goes. But ultimately, Vindication for me, this one's in a similar space to Everdell, in which I am worried for what impact it will have on me playing the game. Now, I have played Vindication since getting this, but a friend's copy. So that happened. But I have not played this copy since putting this together yet.
Seeing the chaos here, I can definitely see why Orange Nebula decided to go with an entirely different system for Unsettled and how much more convenient that
I
is.
like the
feel
Unsettled system.
Yeah,
I
being
do.
able to slot planets in is so much
This,
nicer.
I'm genuinely worried that this will have a degree of less getting played
Because it's so
of
massive.
what it is. And I don't have a way around that. It just is what it is. I think that...
Yeah.
I don't know, because this is one of those games where I've genuinely debated, do I get a second copy of Vindication just so I can have base Vindication?
If you do, let me know.
No, I'm keeping both. Okay. I'm keeping both. Because I want base Vindication to play,
Sure.
and then all-in Vindication. And I've genuinely wanted that. I have to play this first and see how much of a... The question effectively comes is, if the goal is to make things better, and Vindication in particular is a game that I mostly play the base game.
Yeah.
I should add expansions, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. And so if you're mostly playing the base game and you have a much bigger box, did you make your life harder or easier? Like, hey, shiny, okay, great. Are you playing it more? No. Does it take it more shelf space? Yes. What was the point of it? It looks pretty. It's not a great reason.
Right.
So, like, I can't be critical of either of these boxes yet because I haven't actually played with them since getting them. I think Everdell, I am
Which
reluctantly...
seems like a problem. Like, that in itself. The fact... I mean, you in particular, you play so many games that it's less of a issue. But if I get a big box and that means I don't play that game for a year, that's a problem.
I think for me it is case by case. And again, I have played Vindication, I have played Everdell Far Shore. I think Everdell,
count.
I am ultimately happy with this experience based on what I know about it. I think I just need to bite the bullet and play it.
Sure.
And with Vindication, I will let you know later because I don't yet know. I am hesitant. Again, the big problem is if I'm not playing the expansions enough, then am I getting value out of what I just did?
Right.
And that's not Orange Nebula's fault. That's a me problem.
Absolutely.
I'm like, hey, bigger box. Do you need it for anything? No. Why did you get it? Because I like Vindication. Did that make sense? Nope.
Somebody in the comments let us know, with Vindication there's so many modules, and each expansion comes with multiple modules.
Yeah.
Let us know how many modules there are altogether.
There's a lot. There's a lot of things here.
Let's hear. Well, you and I both have the same game, so let's go with the potentially worst example. So, this is Dominion. I only have about 5 expansions in here. I have a few more. I haven't added all of them, and I'll tell you why here in a bit. So, yeah, we're going to have to lift both of these. So, this is not an officially licensed product. What people realize online is that you can get a Hobby Lobby artist box. So, the first caveat to this is you have to buy something from Hobby Lobby, which...
May or may not be a gem.
This is the only thing I've ever bought from them. Then people realize that it works very well for cards. So a certain company, Broken Token, made an insert for it. I bought the insert before the...
This conversation is getting worse the longer it goes on.
Exactly. So I'm saying there's a lot of caveats that go with this. So those are the 2 first caveats that you have to purchase from companies that you may or may not want to purchase from. The second one is here. Let's do a lift test. Let's lift the other...
Oh, I know what mine weighs.
Yeah, and believe it or not...
Oh, yours is similar.
Yeah.
You only have 5 expansions.
Exactly. So,
that means your box is
that's
heavier.
the first caveat. The other caveat is the box itself was like $25. The insert was $20. So at the end of the day, this is like $45. How much was this box?
I have to double check pricing on this one. It's been a while. I think around 60.
Yeah,
think.
so it was more than this.
But I'm trying to remember if I'm combining, because I have 2 of these.
But at this point, I would go with that instead of something like this.
I would go with this.
So I'll go with this
seen the
because,
design.
again, I do think that your solution is better. So let me flip this around and go to the top. So, let's see here. So this is about 5 expansions, and it's nice, it's modular, you can throw a bunch of things in. You can tell I spent a lot of time hand cutting all of these
Have
various
you
dividers.
seen my Dominion solution yet?
And we're about to.
Oh, okay, fine, because
Yeah.
I have things. I have things I do.
Yeah, okay, you have things, so I'll see this. So, I mean, this is really good, and in truth, like, you can tell, there's lots of extra space. I could easily fit at least 3, probably 4 or more expansions in here. The problem, and these are Sleeve King sleeves, so they're, 60 microns, I think, or something like that. The problem is, it's
Sleeve
already...
Kings are 40 microns. Oh, Sleeve King 60. Sleeve King 60. 60.
But the problem is that it already weighs so much that if I add more to this, I'm legitimately not sure this little handle is going to stay. So I want to add more expansions. I have more expansions sitting at my home, but I think I want to replace the hardware here to something more solid before I do that. Because I already cradle this when I carry it as opposed to holding it by the handle. But other than that, I mean, it's a very nice solution. I found these boxes that hold everything nicely. But again, if this was only $20 or $30 cheaper than your solution...
And to be fair, though, this will not handle a handle, I should say. This is going to be very much a holding it kind of situation. There's no sideways holding on this thing. So this is my Dominion solution. This is from One Sharp Joe. Again, I can't remember the price point on this as far as it, because I have 2 of them, so I can't remember the price individually. But he has a bunch of these for a variety of games. This is generic, hey, you want to hold a bunch of cards in a box? We got you covered.
And I will say, one problem with both of these is that you have to be careful not to scratch the table.
Oh, you absolutely do. These things are, although my last game is really the main victim there. So this is my solution over here. And you may notice a distinct lack of any form of labeling whatsoever, which is intentional and desirable.
I am type A. This is a problem.
No, it's not. It's intentional and desirable. We're going to see, because I understand your type A-ness, but we're going to get into it in a second and find out how it goes.
Do you just randomly grab them?
I do.
Oh my gosh.
But how else do you... Well, we'll get into it. Okay, so this is the thing. Right? So I actually have my rulebooks thrown in the other one, because I do have another one already.
Right.
The rulebooks can actually fold into a divot if you want, or the only problem, and this is where the Type A is a problem, I don't reference the rulebooks in Dominion, so I find I don't actually care. It's one of the few games I don't mind. I know how to play. The rulebooks I occasionally use referencing here and there.
Cards.
But like most games, I would not feel comfortable folding the rulebooks into a full alley. You could put it on top, then there's a little bit of lid lift. That's a different problem there. But effectively, the way this operates here is literally just storing cards. That's all there is. But all I do is I grab a pack, and these are sleeves in sleeves. So the way this works over here is specifically not labeled, because this way I don't have to worry about where things go. If I want to play Dominion, I just go, okay, great, we're going to go ahead, and here's my base cards in the center, so I ignore that. These are all individually packed out. But over here, I'm like, hey, grab this one. Okay, we got our 5-cost card. Okay, good. We're going to add this. We got a 0-cost card. Okay, we got, Abandoned Mines. This is interesting. We have a 4-cost card.
I can dig that.
We're going to go ahead and grab these, and then I go ahead and lay them out, and then when I'm done, they just go back to any random place, because my goal when I play Dominion is the variety of who cares. Like, who cares? Like, I'm not trying to specifically build this one. It looks like a little dinged over there on that sleeve case over there.
Yeah. Are those bigger sleeves, like from a different?
You take one size up.
One size up.
I have to remember which one it is to use, but whatever it is, you just find slightly one size up, and the 10 cards that are going to set do store that nicely. Which means I have chaos, but why do I need to put them back in the right place?
So this is awesome, and this actually I can see why this would be a good solution. For me, I like to go online and find like various kingdoms that people are like, oh, this kingdom is really fun. In fact, there's a the subreddit is really active, and they have a kingdom of the week, and somebody's actually made it so that you can sort through and you can say, I have this, and this expansion. Which of the kingdoms of the week for the past many years can I utilize? And so I like kind of making pre-selected kingdoms.
I would never be able to do that.
Completely
I would lose my
understand. I'm more type A, so
no. I mean, I was saying,
I like this though.
No, I'm generally type A, but I think that for me, the amount of time and effort that goes into putting things back in their right places on board games. Let's go back to miniatures.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I store them in the bag is because it's
you
not
don't
just
have to put
about
them in specific spots.
Yeah, like the amount of time you go, but this goes here, this goes here, this goes here. Guess how many miniatures I've broken over the years of my system?
None.
Well, no, I have broken miniatures. I have broken miniatures, but very few.
Very few.
Very few. You mentioned Great Wall. The flags on those riders.
That's going to happen.
That's going to happen.
For trouble.
It is. But
do you mind if I just put this? So to your point of the chaos of putting things back where they are, I actually have a system, and this is type A and stupid, where when I take a deck of cards, so I'm going to take Laboratory, I take a little red flag, and I put it back there so that when I'm putting cards back, I know where they go.
That's really smart.
It's really smart. It's also really insane. And so, to your point of just random
But that makes it easier.
It does make it easier for me, but it's also just saying, like, I get your system. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, for me, I had to choose, and every time I do this, I have to choose. In this case, I had to choose between the ability to construct random kingdoms easily without worry about where things go, or complete order. And in this case, I chose random.
I don't think you chose wrong.
Oh, and by the way, love this. No complaints whatsoever. We're talking about the efficiency of big box solutions. This is
true.
I used to store all this in the base Dominion box, but that worked up until like the last three expansions. And that's like I just don't have space. I literally have no space, and this came along. And One Sharp Joe, you know, check it out, and it's amazing.
And in terms of space, if there's a game that you have to sleeve, it's Dominion. Those cards get run through really quickly, especially the coppers in the States. Moving on.
You want to do yours?
You still have two more.
I have one more.
You have one more? Okay.
So yeah, one more.
Yeah. All right, well then I will go with this. And this might be a controversial opinion. So,
I don't even like Wingspan. Well, that's not true. I don't love Wingspan.
You don't love Wingspan.
And I want this box.
So, this box is both awesome, and I would recommend it for people who love Wingspan, but like with a lot of caveats. And that's kind of my problem with it. So, the first thing you'll notice is this game is huge. Compared to the box by itself, compared to the box with all of expansions, it's absolutely huge. And there's a lot of reasons that they made it this big. And so Elizabeth Hargraves and Jamie Stegmaier, they're still making expansions for this game. And they knew that they wanted to leave a lot of space for expansions. So that's one of the reasons this is so big. They don't know what all the expansions are going to be, so there's a lot of space in here that's just like, they could use it, but it's not defined yet.
Okay.
And so that's kind of creates a problem where there's a lot of space, but you know, maybe it'll be useful, but who knows. The second thing is that this is one of the most customized games that people own. It's one of the most popular games, and people will get really large resin things for all the foods. People will get various birds for all
dice
the
towers.
action. Yeah, dice towers, people for their but birds for their action trackers, which takes more space.
Yeah.
So they wanted to make this as flexible as possible to have as much space as possible in it.
Which I appreciate.
Which
one of the problems I've had with big boxes or any solution is like you get this like, hey, here's a folded space insert. Does it accommodate your other upgrades? No. Then pick one. And you're like, oh, okay, fine. Well, that's frustrating.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, one of the topics I'd say is like space that you're not positive if it's going to be used. They left space for sleeved cards, which is great. I don't sleeve this particular game. So there's a lot, but it does make setup and teardown so much easier. And let me take out the first tray. So the first thing I'll say is they have this lovely first tray.
I like that.
Exactly. You can have all the rule books. You can have all of the boards, because if you have Oceania by now, you have at least 10 boards. This is the round tracker.
That's theirs or custom?
No, it's custom.
Cool.
It was like on sale on Amazon. And then they have these awesome loops. Like, again, this box is awesome. I'm not trying to knock it too much. Here,
there's knocking coming.
There is. So here, again, you have space. It's perfect. They have this tray for birds, which is half empty because I have my recently played cards out here. Because of this, I don't have to shuffle this game nearly as often, because at this point there's so many cards that I just put the used cards off to the side. Let's see here. They have 2 food options here, and you can put one on each side of the table. And again, it's just so easy to set up. They have all of the dice, all of the round trackers here. So again, this is all awesome. And there's room for so many cards over here. They gave you these dividers, which, you know, I'll never use because everything's mixed up, but they have like promos in each. They gave a little teaser of what's to come, so I didn't know there was going to be an Asia at the time.
I believe their plan is to have every continent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, again, so far, everything super nice, super great. Space for a dice tower that my sister was nice enough to paint for me. And then the part where I start to complain a little bit is if you take this part out, this is just
generic space.
Miscellaneous space. And they did this because, again, they don't really know what's coming for sure. And so at the time, I'm just storing a few knickknacks, the old bird tray, you know, whatever fits down there. And
for a box this size, it's darned if you do, darned if you don't.
Right.
It is.
Exactly. Because if they made this and then they came out with an expansion in the future and there wasn't enough space, people would be mad. And so, again, Elizabeth, Jamie did everything correctly, everything they should have, but just, again, you're getting a box that's bigger than it needs to be necessarily.
And it's already a big box.
It's already a huge box. And now, is it worth it? For me, yes. But part of that is because I am almost always the game host. People come to my house more than I go to other games, or other houses. But if I wanted to throw this into my board game table bag, this is the one game I'm bringing. It's that big.
It is. I mean, yeah, that's the evening.
Yeah.
You don't bring that because we might play Wingspan. You bring that because we're
playing Wingspan. Otherwise, I'm going to leave this at home. And so, again, I think this box is fantastic, and it makes sense for me, but it comes with a lot of caveats, which I think is a big part of the conversation is, are the caveats worth it for you? And for me, they absolutely are, but
it's a lot. It's a lot. None of these things I'd recommend to anyone for the first time. Going back to, like, you know, Everdell and Vindication, if you're not playing with the expansions, don't jump to the big box. It's a lot, and it makes it harder to table. It might make it worth it. Everdell, I'm pretty confident I want. Vindication, I know I want all the content. Do I need it all in the big box? Time will tell. I still have to figure out, again, if I have to pull out a ton of stuff just to get to the content I'm playing, that just puts it in the way of getting played.
And the problem with the Kickstarters, with that FOMO, is you don't know when the next Kickstarter's coming in, so it's so easy to jump into that all in.
My last one is the biggest one here. I have to be very careful because I've already scratched my dining room table once before. This one is, I might...
Do you need help?
I don't know yet because I'm trying to get it from a sitting down position, but I think I got it.
Okay. Just give it a hug. Nervous.
1 second. I want to do this properly. Okay. I don't want to slide it. I want to constantly pick and rotate because it has move things. You're not getting a top-down camera on this one. Just getting front-facing. This is the loot crate. The trove chest. Trove chest. Not the loot crate. Trove chest. This is a trove chest from Too Many Bones from Chip Theory Games, and I think it's incredible. I think it's worth it. It fits into a Calyx barely. I highly recommend this. I have my little magnet that I didn't bring to just the table.
You did the thing.
I'm gonna have to use my knife over here because I didn't bring my magnets across the room. But effectively, these are magnetized, so it comes straight out. But basically, if I do it this way, I don't know if I can get it out or not. I might have to go up and get my magnet. We'll see. Let's see. There we go.
But then you'll have to edit the video.
There we go. Yeah, I know. I could just say bye and have them wait. You can keep them entertained. But these basically are magnetized, so they pull straight out with a magnet. And these are, this I'll show you the top of. Here we go. Like, that's going to be some of your, like, your individual containers over here for your individual. This is now one of your, do you have this game?
I don't.
Have you played this game? Seen this game?
Nope.
This is going to be
the list.
Oh, this is so good. This is going to be an individual, what's it called? Gear lock in one of these trays. Each of these has a gear lock. These are going to be here for extra if you do need that.
I was going to ask, are you missing gear lock?
I don't believe I am. I may not have put... Oh, no, this is the new content, the new stuff.
Oh, right.
I haven't sorted my unbreakable content into this yet.
And so they future-proof this.
They future-proof
part of the conversation. Good job on that.
They said that they're never... They said they're never going to put something that doesn't fit into this properly.
That's amazing.
It might require creativity, but not going to do that. Now, this, by the way... So, I could open all of these, but I'm not going to because I'd have to use my knife for every single one of these because I can through my magnet. So, problem number one, you need a magnet.
Right.
Which is a bit of a pain. But if you lose the magnet, I assume you can buy a new one, or just use a general magnet. I assume it's not going to be as cool. Mine is like a crossbones. It's top of the line.
Problem two, it's so big I can't even see the front of it.
Oh, you can't.
No, you're fine. I'm looking at the camera. We're good.
This ultimately falls into a weird category where I do recommend this with caveats. So number one, I said I haven't put Unbreakable into this, and there's a reason for that. Because I would like to have a Too Many Bones that I can actually take and travel and do whatever without having to... reach into this every single time.
Right.
Because this does do a great job. The side loading aspect to it means it does a genuinely great job of making the game easier to table, when it's here.
Right.
If I want to get to any content I need, it's not too far away. I'm not digging down into a chest. I'm just pulling out the drawers I need, grabbing stuff I need. It takes a lot of content. It makes it very accessible. It does a great job as far as easier to table here. If I want to go anywhere else or move this thing, gives you a hernia and damages your table. It's not going anywhere. Right. So my solution for right now has been Unbreakable is going to be my travel too many bones thing. I'll proxy out a character if I need to. Otherwise, I'm keeping the Unbreakable game and the rest can fit into here because this is not travel friendly. It's not even remotely close to travel friendly.
Question: if you were to take components of this to a friend's house, is that something where you could grab just like a few drawers, or would you essentially need to grab everything?
You'd have to grab the stuff you want, which is not that much. It's going to be the cards. Because think about it this way. Unbreakable is a playable expansion if it's in a box this size. So, assuming you keep the base content there, you'd have to replace the characters you want to play with.
Right.
And then proxy out the various baddies you want to play with. So, to prep Unbreakable from this to have travelable content, if I'm just taking Unbreakable, I walk and go.
Yeah.
If I'm proxying content in and out, you might be talking about like maybe 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how proficient you are at the game.
Still possible, though.
It's possible.
I think that's important.
Absolutely. It's definitely possible. It's just, I think the biggest question is your familiarity with the game and how easy it is to grab the stuff you want.
Yeah.
If you're fighting against different bosses, you have different troves of baddies you're trying to play with, there are caveats. Ultimately, I think I'm just going to keep Unbreakable standalone, and if you want the variety that is the goodness of this, you're coming to my house. Otherwise, we can travel Unbreakable. So I'm mixed in this one. It is expensive. Right. It is. I wouldn't want to not have this. It makes it impossible to make this a portable thing. It is way too large and it'll destroy anything it touches. But otherwise, I like it. So kind of mixed.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we have.
And that's the thing about these big boxes. Sometimes they're always awesome. They're always nice. But there's always some caveats.
There's caveats. You just want to make sure that you want the thing. The playtime, accessibility, cost of the thing itself, all of those are different conversations you need to be mindful of before you go diving down the rabbit hole of the big box. The extras includes the upgrades it has, if it has those, the consolidation. Sometimes plastic bags in a base game box and just making it all work is not the end of the world, and it makes it easier to table. And so that's what you have to balance.
Absolutely.
Anyways, Mason, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, hope you have a good one.